So hello everyone and welcome to the Language School Success Series. This is normally live and today I'm here again with Dodell because our last chat had some glitches, so Joe kindly agreed to record a session so that everyone can get the message loud and clear, let's say, about using AI in language education. So welcome, Joe, and thank you for your time today again.
Oh, it's lovely to be here. Yeah, it was very annoying for listeners to hear that echo. So I thought we must re-record it, and so we can then have a chat about AI and how it can help language schools and language teachers for sure.
Yeah, it was very, very generous of you as well.
Okay.
So thanks again. And for those that are watching this for the very first time or seeing us live for the very first time, I'm Gina Rodriguez from GR School Marketing, and Dodell is a language in technology consultant, and he's an international conference speaker, has worked with many institutions, and is specialized in the use of technology in education, and nowadays all about AI, Joe.
That's right. Well, that's the latest wave, as it were. So most of the work I'm doing at the moment is around the use of AI, either in language teaching or across the curriculum. I'm doing most of my training sessions online, although I am doing the odd face-to-face session as well. So this feels a very natural environment. I'm sure you're liking the background image that I've got as well, which is very much on message around AI. So it's been a lot of fun exploring the different ways that we can use AI to save teachers time and to be really creative. And I think it's moved at such a quick pace as well, from ChatGPT coming out in November 2022 and then gathering pace. And then from sort of the new year onwards, there were lots of early adopters, lots of edtech fans that were writing posts on X or Twitter, LinkedIn and podcasts and YouTube clips. So I've just spent a lot of time researching around different ways in which we can use AI, particularly to start off with sort of text-based ideas. And now it's then sort of moved more to a multimodal approach, whereby you have now, for example, in ChatGPT Plus, you've got DALL-E 3 installed, which means you can use it as a text-to-image tool. There are other ways of doing AI-generated content as well as images. Other ideas around video and audio I'm still exploring, but there's so much that we can use to save.
There's a whole world out there. Yeah. It's very difficult. Like I find it very difficult to keep up with all the new apps and tools that are using AI at the moment, and there are so many, and sometimes look great, but then when you start experimenting, they're not that great. And so what I really like about what you're doing is that you have experimented with them, you have this experience in language teaching, so you can combine both skills and bring to teachers tools that are actually effective and can save us time with lesson prep and admin, so that's great. So Joe, to start with, for schools that are looking to streamline their preparation time and admin, right? What top AI-based tools would you recommend?
Well, I think to start off with, I would just have a deep dive into ChatGPT because it is completely free and there's so many things you can do with it. A lot of these other AI tools essentially are using ChatGPT technology for them to run. They just have a more customized version of how they're using the technology. But basically, what I would suggest, which is what I do in my training sessions, is first of all, I will ask the audience if they've been using AI and how they've been using it. And normally what people say is they've been using, for example, ChatGPT, which is the one that probably most people know about, for creating lesson plans or creating resources or creating text or gap fills or those sorts of things, or sometimes email to parents. So if they have an email to a parent and they then ask the AI to generate a good reply to that email. Some people use it for creating documents that they use at school as well, sort of departmental documents or whole school documents, those sorts of things. So I would say that's a really good starting point, but be aware of the fact that, one, you shouldn't be putting in personal information into ChatGPT, e.g., the names of people, email addresses, any sort of personal data, because that data is being sent to OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, and supposedly is to train their model, whatever that means. But we don't really know what's happening with that data. So it's very, very important from an ethical point of view that we don't share personal information. But I think that's a good starting point. I think lesson planning and resources, and to perfect your prompts when you're putting in information. So, for example, to try and be as accurate as possible, to put in parameters. So, for example, if you're saying, write me a lesson plan around the topic of sport and leisure. My students are 13 years old. I have 2 students who are dyslexic, for example, not naming the names of students, obviously, but suggesting some ideas around accessibility and different educational needs that the AI can definitely help with, and get it to produce the lesson plan based on that. So it will, when I've done this in the past, it will say, lesson objectives. It will decide how long the lesson is, even if you haven't said it. So it probably will say it's a 60-minute lesson, even though it might be a 45-minute lesson. And then you have to then clarify that it's a 45-minute lesson, not a 60-minute lesson. It will then give you some materials. It will then give you a number of different activities. It will give you a conclusion, a preview, and so on and so forth. And what's great about that is it just sort of spits it out. And I'm not saying you would use it straight away as it is, but it's a starting point. It's a way of avoiding that blank page. And it's a way, I think, anyway, and lots of other people agree, it's a great way of sort of channeling your creativity. Because even if you might think to yourself, well, I don't really know what I want to do in this lesson plan, when it produces something, certainly this is what I find, you look at something and say, well, I don't like that, but I do like that. That's an interesting idea. And then you can then ask the AI to then develop a particular idea that you like. And that can just really inspire you to remind you of maybe something that you did years ago, or just a new direction to go in. So I find it really inspirational, but it does make mistakes. It isn't always accurate. It does hallucinate, as one says, e.g. make things up. And you have to be very critical of when you look at the output, and be aware of the fact that you need to have a good knowledge of what you're asking it to do first of all, to be able to evaluate whether what it's produced is good and can be usable, because it will produce content which is biased occasionally, which is inaccurate, etc.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point, a very valid point, actually, and so important. So it's the critical thinking aspect going to it. So for us to double check the information, cross check, and as you said earlier, it's a good starting point, but we don't have to take every word from ChatGPT and paste it into our emails or into the lesson that we are doing. And I think nowadays I've been using it a lot as well, and I can now tell when something is written by ChatGPT without any editing before it goes online. So there are some words that you can tell that they come. There are ChatGPT's favorite words that you see them coming up again and again. And I'm thinking here about like new teachers, right? That when you are a new teacher, you spend a lot of time preparing lessons, or maybe busy teachers that are running from one group into the other, and they need to prepare things on the go. It is really good for saving time. It can adapt also to the CFR levels, can't it?
That's right. Yeah.
So you can put B1 or A2 text.
Yeah. There's different tricks that you can use. So, for example, you could say, "I'm an A1 level learner of English. I'd like you to create a text which is aimed at A1." It does a pretty good job. It's not always exactly right. When I've demonstrated that live in sessions, people said, "Well, that's not really A1. That's more sort of A2." But it's a starting point. Or you could ask the AI to summarize the text it's done, or redo the text as if you were explaining it to a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old, for example. In other words, different techniques in order to make a graded version of the text. I think that's really, really useful. There's other AI tools like Diffit, for example, Diffit.me or beta.diffit.me, which allows you to put in text or put in a URL or a YouTube clip, or even upload a PDF, and it will then allow you to choose the graded version that you want the text to be in. So, for example, the easiest version, the lowest version is second grade, which are American grades. So that would be sort of primary level. And again, that's a way of dumbing down, if you like, or simplifying text or articles that maybe that you want to use an authentic article from a website, but you can make a graded version to make it more accessible to the student. So that's a really useful, I think, a really useful way of producing content using AI.
Yeah. Oh, this is amazing because, you take the article, you grade it, and then from there you can create other activities like fill in the gaps or.
Well, it does that automatically with Diffit. It doesn't make it fill in the gaps, but it makes a summary. It makes it pulls out keywords, so like a keyword list, which you can add to as well, which is cool. It makes multiple choice questions and open-ended questions as well. All of that is part of the free version, and then from the end of January 2024, they're going to have the other features as premium, which is to export to places like Google Docs, Google Forms, and Google Slides. And there are lots of Google Slides templates which you can use, which will take the information from that the original article or URL or text, and it will then generate activities, which is really cool. I think it's a really good way of using the AI.
And what's the name of the tool again? Can you
spell it? Diffit, which is DIFFIT, which is short apparently for differentiated instruction. So the website is beta.diffit.me at the moment.
It's brilliant. Well, thanks for sharing that. We love tools that can help us save time.
Yep.
So far you've mentioned Diffit and ChatGPT. Are there any other tools that can help language schools also with, for example, presentations when they have to do presentations of their courses, or in the admin side of things? What do you think?
Yeah, sure. So that's a really good point. It's all about, what is it you want to do with the AI, and once you know what the purpose is, people can then suggest different options. So there are AI tools out there which allow you to make presentations. For example, there's one called Gamma.ai, so it's GAMMA.ai. There's one called Tome, TOME as well. There's a few others as well, but I don't tend to use that. What I tend to do is I say to ChatGPT, can you create a 5-slided presentation whereby you have 5 headings and then let's say 4 bullet points per heading. And I'm going to then copy and paste that and put that into Word, which is what I then do. So I put that it generates the content. I put it into Word. I tweak it as required. And then I highlight the whole text and I go to styles and choose heading 1, which is the titles that you would use as heading 1. And then I manually go through and change all the bullet points to heading 2. And then you go to File, Export to PowerPoint. And then it then uses another AI, what's called PowerPoint Designer, to look at the content within the outline and then suggest themes and images that go with that content. So once you've then chosen a theme from a selection of, say, 20 or so themes, you choose that theme, and then it will then create the slideshow for you. And then you can then, from there, you can adapt the slides, you can change the image, you can do a search for another image and put it in. And that's, to be honest with you, that's the main way I'm now incorporate in order to create presentations. And in the past, I would sort of have like a master presentation, as it were, and I would then copy and paste slides from that master presentation into a new presentation for an individual client or school or what have you. Whereas now I tend to do everything from scratch because I just enjoy doing it and it doesn't take too long. And I also enjoy generating images using DALL-E 3 in ChatGPT Plus. So I'll put in a prompt saying the sort of image that I want, and it then creates the image. I then download that and then incorporate that within the PowerPoint. And then once I finish the PowerPoint, I then upload that to Google Drive and save it as a Google Slides presentation. So I normally deliver via Google Slides, but I do the heavy lifting in Word and PowerPoint. So that's what I would recommend if people want to explore. I mean, obviously, you can look at those other ones I've mentioned, like Gamma and Tome, but they're limited on the number of presentations you can do per month or what you can do for free. Whereas with Word and PowerPoint, it's unlimited.
Of course, yeah. This is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant because you can save tons of time. And also, I'm thinking here while we're talking, is the same way we saw that last time. it's how important it is to get familiar with the various tools out there, find the one that really suits what our needs, and then combining them. So this is where the competency comes out, right? So you're combining various tools to carry out a project, and I think that's important. I mean, there's not only a single tool that can do everything, but we need to become familiar with how to prompt AI. I think it's super important. We need to be pay a lot of attention to detail and very good descriptions of what we want AI to do for us. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, this idea of connecting different apps together or different tools together to produce a final product, that's known as app smashing, which I've been involved in for many, many years. I was inspired by Greg Kulowick, who coined the term back in about 2012, 2013. And I actually met Greg face to face in the States around that time. I went to the iPad Summit, as it was called. And I did a workshop with Greg, and the idea of app smashing is exactly what you said, is that you produce different parts of a product and you combine it all together to get a final outcome. And I think that takes digital literacy, AI literacy, in order to work out and to know how to combine different elements together to produce what you're trying to produce. And so it's just taking it to a whole new level, really, using the AI for app smashing, for sure.
I love that, app smashing, new term to learn today. Brilliant. Yeah, and also you need to be quite patient, and at the beginning, you need to dedicate time to explore, to test, see how things work, and choose and pick the one that really works for you. So that's great. So we have seen two tools for lesson prep and also some tools for admin. I'm now thinking about AI in terms of preparing lessons that can be inclusive for the students, right? So that can include students with learning needs, special needs. What would you recommend?
I think one, that's a really important point, and I think that AI in general can be very good for producing differentiated versions of text and what have you to support different types of learners. So I think the tool I mentioned already, Diffit, is very good for that. So you can create different graded versions of the same text, or the same authentic article, for example. I think that asking ChatGPT when you're creating a lesson plan, you could say, for example, I have a couple of dyslexic students in my class. What strategies could you suggest to support them? That's really useful. There's another Chrome extension which I use a lot, which is called Use Immersive Reader on websites, which is essentially the same as Immersive Reader that you get with Word and PowerPoint and Class Notebook. And other tools. Flip as well has Immersive Reader inbuilt. And so what that allows you to do is you can then select the text, run Immersive Reader, or in the sense of the Chrome extension, you install the Chrome extension called Use Immersive Reader on websites, which you could do, let's say, live in ChatGPT. In the past, I've asked ChatGPT to generate a text for me. For example, the morning routine of Mickey Mouse in French or whatever language it might be. It then generates the content, and then you can then highlight the text, right-click it, and it will say, help me read this. It works in the same way with Word. So in Word, you copy the text into Word. You then go to the View menu and you choose Immersive Reader. And what that lets you do is it lets you, for example, have a model of pronunciation to read back the text to you. It recognizes the language automatically. It has a natural sounding voice, which is really useful. So from the point of view of encouraging independence in students, not only students with special educational needs, but any students, they can listen back to the model of pronunciation. They can also do things like change the background color. So they could have, for example, a yellow background or a blue background or a green background, which for some dyslexic readers could find that is easier for them to understand. It also has this idea of being able to shut off part of the page, so you can have a sort of line reading, as it were. So you have, apart from that one line which appears on the screen, everything else is blacked off. So when you press play, it will then read it line by line. So in the olden days, we would use a ruler on a piece of just move the ruler down.
Slide it down,
Yeah, it's the same idea, and it's just to help students with dyslexia to focus, because they might find that if they're looking at the whole text, that the text is sort of swimming on the page or sort of moving up and down and what have you, which is obviously something that technology can help with. There's also a picture dictionary as well, so you can click on individual words, and there may be a picture prompt to help you understand what the text is about. In the official Word version, there is what's called Reading Coach, which is a lot of fun. So you can have the text read back to you, and then if you click on Reading Coach, the play button turns into a microphone, and when you click on the microphone, you can then pronounce yourself the text, and it will then give you some feedback on the quality of your pronunciation, on how long you spent doing it, on words you need to practice, and so on and so forth. So that's a lot of fun. That's a very useful tool, I think.
It's absolutely, yeah, it's wonderful. And also, from what you're saying, it doesn't have to be only about English, but it can be about other languages. So I'm thinking about schools that also teach, for example, German, Italian, or Spanish or Chinese. So this is great, because normally they are very short of materials, but with these tools, they can actually do a lot. So this is brilliant. So
and you can also translate, cover a couple other points, if that's okay. So you can also translate individual words as well, which can help. Let's say you have an EAL student who doesn't have English as a first language. They could be using the translate feature as well, which is really powerful. And then in Microsoft tools, you have with PowerPoint now, you can enable closed captioning, which you can, to be fair, in Google Slides, but in Google Slides, it's only available in English. So you can enable closed captioning in Google Slides, but in PowerPoint, you can choose from a whole range of language. So you can be speaking in one language. So the teacher could be speaking in, say, Spanish, and the closed captions could be appearing in, say, English. Or there's a feature called PowerPoint Live, which means that the teacher could be speaking, let's say, in Spanish, but the students can then choose which language they have the transcript turned into live, to have live captions in whichever language you want, Bulgarian or French or what have you. So from the point of view of a multilingual classroom, that could be amazing for differentiated instruction.
Yeah. I would think about that as well. When you have students coming from different countries, and that's a very common situation here in Italy, for example. We have so many nationalities in the classroom, so that's so helpful to have those tools around there. So I suppose teachers and school directors might be wondering now, how do we learn about all this? And the good news is that Joe is organizing a course or a training, right, Joe? Can you tell us about it, please?
Yeah, so I'm running my 4-part webinar series in January 2024. So it starts on the 8th of January. It's the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th. And you can either purchase individual sessions. So you can register for individual sessions. You don't have to be there live. If you don't want to, you can just get the recordings. You can also get the presentations, and you can ask to get a certificate as well if you want to, and you get all the prompts that I use for that particular session. Wow. So in the first 3 sessions, it's focusing on ChatGPT and all the things I've talked about, plus many, many other ideas as well. And then in the 4th session, it's looking at other AI tools such as Diffit, such as other tools like Twee, which we haven't talked about yet, which is also very good for English language teachers as well. And I'm also running a deal whereby you can essentially buy 3, get 1 free, which means that it works out at about €130. You get all 4 sessions, all recordings, all the presentations, and all the prompts as well. So I've run this course already in May and in June, and about 230, 235, 40 people have already done this course from literally all over the world. So people would be interested in doing that. That would be amazing. Just look at the Eventbrite link that we'll put in the show notes. That's fine. Or just go onto Eventbrite and search for my name or ChatGPT. And I'd also love to hear from you if you wanted to book me to do individual sessions or a couple of sessions or a series of sessions designed particularly for your own context. That'd be amazing. And I could do that literally anywhere in the world, live from my study on the Isle of Wight, which is where I live. Or I'd love to travel as well to do a session that's face to face as well. So those are
amazing. Schools need that support, and it would be wonderful to have you on board.
Absolutely. There's also a Facebook group which I've started called Language Teaching with AI as well, which I'd really recommend people check out. So there's also already 2,600 members in there. And I have a set of questions, 4 questions, which I ask people to answer before coming in, and also to agree to the group's rules. If you don't do that, unfortunately, you have your proposal rejected after an hour, because I'm the only person doing the admin, and it would become unworkable if I had to approve each person individually. So all I'm asking is for some sort of commitment whereby people will answer a few questions and agree to the group's rules. But it's already a very active, dynamic
there.
group.
Yes, yeah.
And yeah, you're there, Gina, already.
I'm
So that's
there,
great.
yeah, and I really I had a look, and also at comments and questions, etc. And teachers are asking a lot of questions, and as I said again, not only teachers of English as a foreign language, but also teachers of other languages.
Absolutely.
So and the support that you give there is brilliant. So it is. I do recommend joining that group. It's a fantastic Facebook group. Can you repeat the name, please? It's teaching.
Yeah, so it's Language Teaching with AI, and it's using the same image that I'm using right now as my background at the top of the group. So Language Teaching with AI, really, really easy to use, to find. I think it's facebook.com/groups/language teaching with AI, one word. If you just do a search for it, it's a private group, but it will come up in your search. And then, yeah, just agree to the questions, or answer the questions and agree to the group's rules, and I will approve your request to join.
Brilliant. Well, this has been great, and it has gone smoothly. So no echo, no echo today. So I hope that the teachers and schools that will be watching us can take a lot away from this session. As I did, I took a lot of notes, and you don't forget to go and check the Facebook group. And if you're interested in the training that's coming in January, please check that on Eventbrite. And thanks everyone for watching, and thank you, Joe, for your time and in recording this chat again. So thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
It's my absolute pleasure. Great to come on to the show, and I hope everyone finds it useful, the content that I've shared. And any questions, just get in touch. I'm more than happy to help.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye. See you soon. Bye-bye.